afternoon and welcome to IBA News this Tuesday the 25th of October. I'm Elon Aslan-Levy joining you live from Jerusalem. The Al-Quds newspaper has been coming under fire for normalizing relations with Israel in the wake of its rare interview with Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman. Ari O'Sullivan visited the East Jerusalem Arabic Daily this morning and filed this report.
The Al-Quds newspaper was open as usual today, but keeping a low profile. Located on the northern fringes of Jerusalem near the Kalandia crossing, Al-Quds drew the ire of Palestinian leadership from the Fatah and Hamas for its wide-ranging interview with Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman, the first he ever gave to any Palestinian media outlet. In it, Lieberman spoke about lifting the blockade on Gaza if Hamas would cease its confrontation with Israel. He floated the idea of land swaps in the two-state solution, repeating his desire to make Arab cities in Israel, like al-Faham, part of Palestine and annexing Jewish settlement blocks. The Palestinian Authority reportedly tried, unsuccessfully, to pressure Al-Quds not to publish the interview and afterwards blasted the Israeli Minister of War for his delusional and racist opinions and said Lieberman's attempt to circumvent the Palestinian Authority was repugnant. The Palestinian Journalists Association condemned the Al-Quds Daily, saying it was normalizing the occupation. They also questioned whether the paper, which is under Israeli censorship, was given favors for the interview with Lieberman. The editors at Al-Quds all refused to be interviewed about the Daily's decision to publish the interview. Asked if it was because they were scared, they said no and said it was the journalist who conducted the interview to comment. That journalist, Mohammed Abu Khader, also refused to be interviewed on camera. He said in a telephone call that he fulfilled his task as a journalist, asking tough questions, and has interviewed Israelis in the past, including Yitzhak Rabin and Shimon Peres. "I've caused enough damage with this report," he said. "I want to lay low for a while." On the Arab street, the reaction was one of interest. Most people I spoke to said they wanted peace to progress and were glad to read it. This Palestinian had no grudge against the Al-Quds newspaper, saying it was good that they interviewed the Israeli defense minister so that Palestinians knew what he was thinking. But it was now up to the Palestinian leadership to decide what to do. Ari O'Sullivan for IBA News.
A short time ago, reports were received of a shooting incident along the Israel-Egyptian border in the vicinity of Har Harif. One person, reported to be a civilian employee of a defense ministry contractor, was injured and evacuated from the site in moderate condition. Shots were also fired at Israeli vehicles and a bus this afternoon on Road 375, some 200 meters from the entrance of Beitar Illit. No one was injured in the attack. Security forces searched the area and sealed off the portion of the road where the attack occurred. The army imposed a closure on the nearby Palestinian villages of Hussan, Beit Jala and Nahlin. A group of American lawmakers has written to members of the UNESCO World Heritage Committee, urging them to vote against a further resolution ignoring Jewish and Christian ties to the Temple Mount. The committee's 21 member states are scheduled to vote in Paris tomorrow on a resolution titled Old City of Jerusalem and Its Walls, which is aimed at reaffirming the Old City's place on a list of World Heritage Sites in danger. As in last week's resolution passed by UNESCO, tomorrow's resolution refers to the Temple Mount by its Arabic name only. The letter, initiated by Republican Senators Ted Cruz and Ileana Rose-Lehtinen, called the proposed resolution yet another attempt to rewrite history and by denying Jewish and Christian ties to Jerusalem. Worried that their resolution might fail to achieve consensus, the Palestinian Authority and Jordan have warned delegations to submit their positions by today, lest they reconsider their options, which Israel's UNESCO ambassador says means they would file an even more problematic resolution. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif were awarded the prestigious 2016 Chatham House Prize yesterday in recognition of their work to achieve last year's nuclear accord between the Islamic Republic and 6 world powers. The London-based Chatham House think tank, officially the Royal Institute of International Affairs, said the annual prize is awarded to those who make a significant contribution to the improvement of international relations. It hailed the two diplomats' leadership and commitment as imperative to sustaining and driving the negotiations to their successful conclusion. Kerry and Zarif were previously among the favorites to win this year's Nobel Peace Prize, which ultimately went to Colombian President Juan Manuel Santos for his efforts to end his country's 50-year-long civil war with left-wing guerrillas, culminating in a deal that Colombian voters rejected earlier this month in a referendum. The US military is facing yet another threat in its battle against Islamic State and must find ways of countering explosives-laden small unmanned drones as deployed by ISIS in Syria and Iraq. That, according to US Air Force Secretary Deborah Lee James, speaking at an event of the Center for a New American Security in Washington, D.C. Defense News quoted James saying that in the past several weeks there have been multiple instances of ISIS operators in Iraq and Syria purchasing the unmanned aerial system and then packing them with explosives, effectively turning them into flying bombs, sometimes with fatal results. And in local news, the Habima National Theatre will perform in Kiryat Arba next month, a first in its history. The planned performance of A Simple Story on the 10th of November, based on a story by Shai Agnon, is attracting criticism for supposedly legitimizing the settlements and normalizing the occupation, a charge the theatre disputes, saying it rejects any attempt at a cultural boycott in any place where Israeli citizens live. Culture Minister Miri Regev has praised Habima for its decision, having introduced new regulations recently to financially incentivize cultural institutions that perform in the periphery, including the settlements, and to penalize those that don't. The High Court has given the Culture Ministry until the 28th of November to respond to a petition by the Association for Civil Rights against the new rules, saying they violate freedom of conscience and expression. Sticking with the arts, hit Israeli TV series Shtisel is set to be adapted for an international audience in a new show for Amazon, produced by Friends co-creator Martha Kaufman. The drama, set in an ultra-Orthodox community in Jerusalem, will be transplanted to Brooklyn, with a screenplay by Eitan Cohen, the Israeli writer of Men in Black 3. Writing in Vanity, Kaufman described the new show as a period piece set in contemporary times. Shtisel's transfer across the Atlantic follows the worldwide success of Emmy-winning series Homeland, adapted from the Israeli Chatufim, Prisoners of War. The Police International Serious Crimes Unit arrested 6 people this morning and detained another 5 for questioning on suspicion of committing serious crimes, including attempted murder and drugs dealing. The suspects, all members of an organized crime gang, were arrested in raids on their homes. The arrests are part of the ongoing investigation 1131. In August, the first indictments were issued against suspects who allegedly committed a number of murders in the underworld, including a suspect considered the heir of underworld kingpin Yitzhak Abargel. One of the accused then was named as Moti Hussein, who was charged with others for the murders of several organized crime members. Details of the investigation remain under a court-imposed gag order. Sticking with crime, a Tel Aviv court has determined that Deputy Knesset Speaker and Likud MK Oren Chazan did use hard drugs and manage a casino in Burgas, despite his denials. The determination came as the court rejected most of Chazan's million-shekel lawsuit against Channel 2's Amit Segal for his explosive June 2015 report. While ruling that it cannot be proven that Chazan provided clients with call girls, the court said these allegations were not slanderous because they were backed up by several sources, and said it was acceptable to call Chazan a pimp as a result. The court ordered Channel 2 to pay 40,000 shekels in damages for a claim that the Deputy Knesset Speaker dealt drugs, which Segal argued was a mistake on the website and not included in his original report. The court concluded that Segal acted in good faith in the context of responsible journalism and that his investigation was serious and thorough. Chazan responded that Segal should be ashamed, however, and pay up. Police are investigating a report that unknown assailants vandalized the Church of Transfiguration, located on Mount Tabor in the Lower Galilee. According to reports, multiple chalices were stolen, icons damaged, and cash taken from the donation box. It is unclear when the incident occurred. In the Christian tradition, the church is believed to be the site of the transfiguration of Jesus Christ, and where he spoke with the prophets Moses and Elijah. It has emerged that 4 members of the Palestinian security forces, including a senior officer with the rank equivalent to brigadier general, were arrested by the Palestinian security forces on suspicion of plotting to kill senior Fatah members, including the former governor of Nablus. Citing an unnamed senior Palestinian security official, a report in today's Dunya al-Watana website said the 4, all residents of Nablus, were arrested 2 months ago. According to the official, the putative assassinations were intended to stir up anger against the Palestinian Authority by inducing the public to blame the PA for general lawlessness and the situation in the Palestinian-controlled areas of the West Bank. A member of the Hamas Izzadin al-Qassam military wing was killed when a tunnel collapsed in southern Gaza yesterday. He is the second Hamas operative to die inside the terror organization's Gaza tunnel since Saturday, when another operative was killed in a similar accident. According to a report for the Institute of Palestine Studies, Hamas had recorded 160 deaths in its tunnels as of 2012, but a 2014 report by Al Jazeera put the death toll for that same period at 400. France has begun dismantling the jungle migrant camp in Calais today, with authorities clearing it of its thousands of inhabitants and dispatching them to temporary housing in reception centres across the country. A number of skirmishes occurred after it was revealed that there were not enough buses available, causing the migrants to wait in long queues. On arrival at the centres, the migrants from countries such as Afghanistan, Sudan, Syria and Eritrea will be processed, and those fitting the asylum criteria will be permitted to stay. Those who do not will be deported. A French Interior Ministry official said the demolition of the camp would begin by hand first, before sending in bulldozers in an effort to minimise tensions. For many of the migrants fleeing war and poverty, the closure of the jungle marks an end to their dream of reaching Britain just across the Channel, which previously permitted only child refugees with relatives in the UK to enter, but has temporarily suspended receiving the unaccompanied minors at France's request.
Clearing the camp isn't just about our legal and moral obligations. It is also in our national interest. The rise in the number of people has led some in France to question the Le Touquet agreement. This agreement has helped us better protect our borders and ensured strong trade links between Britain and France. By clearing the camp, we can help secure the future of the juxtaposed controls, as well as playing our part to help those most in need in Calais.
At this hour, the 35th annual memorial service for the late Moshe Dayan, former defense minister and IDF chief of staff, is taking place at the Nahalal Cemetery. Dayan died on the 16th of October 1981 at the age of 66. In July last year, an archive of Dayan's personal letters relating to the loss of his eye went up for auction. The letters included a personal account of the incident in 1941 and the original hospital bill. Dayan lost his left eye to a French sniper in Syria, where he was fighting for the Australian 7th Division of the British Army against Vichy French troops. A Reform synagogue in Brooklyn, New York, dedicated its sukkah this year to the millions of refugees around the world. In a twist on the familiar biblical passage, the Beit Elohim congregation has written on top of the sukkah, "We too were refugees." It's part of a campaign called Open the Gates for Us, adopted by some 200 synagogues across the United States. This campaign was initiated by the HAIS, the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, and comes at a time when the US presidential campaign is turning especially bitter over the question of refugee absorption in America.
There's a national conversation in the United States right now about whether we should be allowing refugees into this country and whether we should be considering a full ban on Muslims in America, and whether we should be judging all people, all Muslims, by the actions of very few of them. And we wanted to take a stand to say we should not. We have been the victims of religious persecution. We know what it is to be considered dangerous. We know what it is to be considered undesirable. And we want to step forward and say, as Jewish people, we will not do that to another people.
We like to say that we used to help refugees because they were Jewish, and now we help refugees because we're Jewish.
The high holiday season is officially over. Simchat Torah concluded last night with hakafot shniyot in streets and public squares across the country as people danced with Torah scrolls to live music after the end of Chag. Jerusalem Mayor Nir Barkat described rejoicing with the Torah in Jerusalem as his city's answer to UNESCO. Claiming hakafot shniyot as a Tel Aviv invention from 1942, Mayor Ron Huldai said the wonderful tradition that unites religious and secular, men and women, young and old, embodies the spirit of the White City as a home for all. For the last time till Hanukkah, Chag Sameach. In finance, the stock exchange is on the up and the shekels mixed today. And in weather, tomorrow should be fair with a slight rise in temperatures. But enjoy the sun while it lasts. Showers and heavy rain are expected as early as Thursday. And that's all for today. We'll be back again tomorrow with all the latest. I'm Elon Aslan Nevi, and it's a good evening live from Jerusalem.